face front, true believers. Welcome to the Pitch Nerds. We are the weekly show where two nerds cross our fingers to hoping that OBS works today to bring you the latest nerdy news reviews and story pitches. I'm Cap, and joining me today is always best friend, fellow nerd, and dancing queen who really loves a beat of that tambourine. Ooh yeah, Mr. Frosty. Mr. Frosty, how are you doing today?
What up, everybody? Yeah, apologies last week about the software just not working. I mean, we couldn't even figure out why. It was like it kept just going on and dropping, going on and dropping. So
Right. So
it might have just been because there was an update and maybe something wasn't working it well because we couldn't figure it out on our end. So let us know if you guys are having
the notifications box up in real time. So if anything happens, I have the little panel up. So
I keep a feed open on my phone too.
So unfortunately, this is obstructing a little bit of the chat nerds, so I apologize for anybody who's wanting to. Let me see if I can position it without infringing on our faces. Yeah, that's good. About right there. Okay. So anyways, we're back. We're feeling great-ish, sort of. How you feeling, Frosty? You good?
I mean, like my heart meds, like drugged me into oblivion right now. So I'm gonna do my best.
You know, that's the American way. Just do your best. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, I'm surprised those submarine guys, because like they were billionaires. Why didn't they just get them up by their own bootstraps and then whoop?
Because I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing.
Anyway, a lot of fun stuff has happened this week. The one unfortunately, Gab hasn't seen it, but the one I'm most excited to talk about is My Adventures with Superman. Then we also had Secret Invasion, and a lot of you guys who followed me on Twitter, like you've seen me talking a lot about Superman this week. Then we also had Secret Invasion episode 3. Cap also has not seen that.
It has been conflicting schedules between
myself. But I will do
and
my best to throw up a couple things without giving away too many things. We never got to it, but we can talk the Unicorn Warriors finale because we were, and then we've got Battle Nerds.
Lassie versus Captain America.
Taking on Captain America, yeah.
Of all the characters I wanted, it was Lassie. I've been wanting Lassie for the longest time. So against Captain America, we shall see. All right.
Then we'll also be talking Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. So a lot of fun stuff. We always start with nerdy news. So let's go right there.
Yeah. What do we have in store? Indiana Jones in the Sunny Acres retirement home adventure is doing poorly.
I thought I don't know. I guess I didn't compare it to the budget. You always got to look at
so compared to the budget. It was. And it had.
I don't know. I saw some numbers. I was gonna wait for I don't know. I'm always interested to know. But I wish that film well. It didn't look like it was doing that bad to me, but I could be wrong.
So apparently, it was beat out its second week by a new Insidious movie that came out. So that's a shame. So there's a big box office drop from that, but I haven't seen it. I don't care enough. Not sure if you care.
I mean, I would if I was at the movie and it was like, "What do you want to watch?" I would see it, But I'm not gonna go see it,
But we would get really stoned first, right?
Yes. I don't know if it's a bad movie. People have seen it that are fans of Indiana Jones says it's legitimately good, and that's why I'm kind of like.
I've seen some people say in the memes thread. There's one where it's a reenactment of Indy when the sword wielder comes out and he just shoots the guy. So it was that broken down of Rotten Tomatoes score just as somebody wanting to see the Indiana Jones movie shoots a guy. And so if you want to see...
There's a few critics I watch and listen to because I find them to be fairly balanced and and they both, the two of them I'm talking about, they both admitted in the beginning they're huge Indiana Jones fans, so it's a little bit skewed. But I kind of like listening to people that are, and and they both were like, the movie's not perfect,
no,
and there's issues with it, but if you're into indie, you'll love it.
So,
and
it's funny.
I kind of respect that as a movie.
I went to go get my hair cut a couple weeks ago, and Crystal Skull just happened to be on. It was towards the beginning, and I'm watching it, and I enjoyed it. So I don't remember ever hating. I didn't like Shia LaBeouf, but I rewatched the Red Letter Media guys, and I think they summed it up best because I watched a review of the new one, and they said that it's sort of like a reverse of Crystal Skull, where the first half of Crystal Skull I actually remember really enjoying. But there came a point where it just sort of blah. And
I don't remember enjoying Crystal Skull at all. I remember putting it on, excited to see it, sort of. And it was one of those movies that you just kind of watch, but like you have no
right, I mean, is
reaction
it
to.
so? It was because I'm just there in the barber, and
Mm.
it was a scene where Shia LaBeouf's character is calling out to Indiana Jones, and there's that really fun fight in the diner between the jocks and like the greasers. I like that. It was creative. Where
You know, movies can also. Sorry, go ahead.
no. So having because I haven't seen it since I saw it in theater, so rewatching it, just sitting there in the barber, I enjoyed it. For what I saw, I enjoyed it.
I do think like because movies can become better or worse depending on your setting.
Right.
Like Goldeneye.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that at home in my room by myself, and I was like, eh. And then I was with my friends in England. We were in college, and we were at the pub, and there was a TV right next to it, and they were playing Goldeneye, and we were watching it, and everybody was laughing and having a good time.
Right.
And that all of a sudden became a really fun movie to me, you know,
Right.
and like because like the jokes and like him busting through the thing and then straightening up his tie and then like we'd all look at each other. And,
It's
yeah, no, but it was perfect. And I mean, part of it was like I was with a bunch of British people and like, you know, it's a very British movie and like, yeah.
Pierce Bronson, bro.
But, yeah. Well, it's 007. I mean, he's a British agent.
Right.
I love the fact that we have the best spy. Anyway, I mean, I do have some news about Indiana Jones, but let's start off with. Oh, actually, here we go. I'll start. I'll talk that real fast as we're talking to him. Harrison Ford has made his final goodbye to fans of Indiana Jones. Direct quote: "Thanks for putting up with me. I hope you've had a good time. I sure have."
That's a very Harrison Ford statement to say. So here's what's funny about him is I was rewatching, or not rewatching, but I was watching some YouTuber yesterday, and they were showing Harrison Ford in different interviews and how he feels towards certain franchises. How he shows up, it's a gig for him. He doesn't really attach himself to like the mythos or the lore or anything. So when people ask him silly questions about like, oh, what's Han Solo's this or Indiana Jones that, he's like, oh. It's really funny how he handles it. He's just
They even make fun of that on talk shows.
Oh yeah, with his bit in Conan is great.
Yeah, they like refused to talk Star Wars, and then like, do we have a question from the audience? Like everybody in the audience is like dressed as Star Wars characters,
right?
And they're like, I guess not. And like one of them's like, do you like
stuff,
food?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I like food. Anyway, so I don't know how this number matches up. I think I briefly looked at their budget. I think they were 200 million, so it looks like they're about to break even.
I thought it was 300 million.
Like, no. I'm talking about a different movie now.
Okay.
But Transformers: Rise of the Beast is now just past 400 mil.
Nice. I haven't seen it yet.
Their budget, I think, was 200, so they're probably about breaking even now. But I mean, obviously, it'll keep going up. It's just the big numbers have already dropped, but that means it's profitable,
right?
Or at least I project that it will be,
which means we might get more.
Yeah, it might do. We were talking about this briefly. It's a longer story. You should join. You should be in the Twitter sometimes. It's really interesting. Rob and I were talking about movies, if they have to be big or small, and he believes that movies should be big in scope. Right. And I said, well, no, like the story can be small and it can be awesome. Like Dread is a very small story,
right?
And that movie's badass.
Great movie.
But I was talking, and then I was like, look at the Transformers series. The best one is the smallest story.
Bumblebee.
And he goes, oh, I disagree. And like I was like, well, we're talking what do general audiences like, and Bumblebee has both the highest reviews from critics and the highest reviews from general audiences. So I mean, yeah, scope of a story doesn't need to determine the story's quality. You can have small stories.
We've discussed this, but I've hated every single one of the Michael Bay movies, and then Bumblebee happened. And
Bumblebee, but I don't mean.
No, I guess I know what you're saying. It's just I'm just speaking, injecting my part. I really hate what Michael Bay did to that franchise.
I know you do. We all do. I will.
I understand that you appreciate the stylized nature of the film, and I can on that.
No. I appreciate the I guess animation in the first one. Yeah. I do not, but I don't like any of the others, and because they didn't do it
right.
You know what I mean? Like what they whoever was in charge of the CGI did was, I mean, it was beautifully shot. Like everything had weight and like it was like, boom, and then you look at the second one and the character just whoop, and you're just like, whereas before it's like they
were very chunky,
engines fire, the whole thing drops and then whoosh.
Right.
And like it's beautiful, and every shot is done with like from the perspective of a person.
Right.
So you're like watching them like flip over you and do this crazy shit.
Right.
I mean, say whatever you want about that movie. It is gorgeous.
I concede to that note, but if it were a pizza, that would be the one slice I would take out of the whole and be happy with it. I would discard the rest. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, it's so good that like, I don't care. You know, I'm just like, holy fuck.
Yeah. I love my Transformers. You can see.
Anyway, an idea for a 28 weeks later sequel. Mind you, this is the sequel already. A sequel. To
so I thought that they were going to do 28 months later. Thought they were going to.
No, well, so they did. We had 28 days later, then we had 28 weeks later.
Right.
A sequel is being discussed, and it's going to be titled 28 Years Later.
Okay.
They did skip one, though. You're right. There was never a 28 months later.
I mean, I just felt that that'd be like the natural progression in the.
Yeah, and it would work because you could then plan another movie called that.
Right.
As far as the studio, like it's surprising. You're right. They didn't go that route, but whatever.
I mean,
but yeah, I don't know. I like 28 Days Later is probably one of my all-time favorite films.
It's just such a good movie.
It just knocks it out of the park in every aspect.
I like both of them a lot.
But I do like 28 weeks. Well, the problem is 28 weeks later, you got to compare it to the first one. And if
but they're
it was
two
just
kind of different movies, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like it doesn't. It's nowhere near as good, and so it's kind of like, yeah, you know, like I don't know. I thought it was good, but like,
so I liked it because it was a different story told in the same universe. Like I appreciated it for that, and I thought that was a clever sort of. I mean, this is before Walking Dead really was a thing, so it was good. I liked it. I like both of them. And
I like both. I just think that the first one is just so good. The second one suffers from the problem of being a sequel to such an amazing movie. Right. But anyway, so 28 years later, what are they going to do with that? I mean, like, because it was the rage virus, so like I assume people still die. You know, well, they do die. They even pointed that out. So. Like, is there still going to be a rage virus? Like, how would that work?
It's going to mutate.
Like,
I don't know. I'm almost envisioning like a I Am Legend kind of thing, sort of like going that vibe. I mean, not the mythos with the whole twist at the end, but I can see just that.
Those were vampires. Get your story right.
Right. I don't know. I like the series, so we'll see what happens.
My sister-in-law is visiting, and she got the Star Wars, Star Trek thing wrong.
Uh-oh.
I was just like, get out.
Like Alfred the Butler. No, Albert the Butler.
Yeah. Yeah, I told that story afterwards. Anyway, oh, the animation has wrapped on an Ultraman film.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. I like Ultraman. He's a fun enough character.
Yeah.
I don't really know that much about him, but dude
I,
turns giant and fights
so
monsters.
I always wanted to. So as a kid, I always saw the commercials for this show, but I could never knew when it was on. It was one of those like weird phantom shows where it was always advertised, but I could never find it anywhere on syndication. And I think I might have tuned into it once, like the final half, but the commercials look cool as fuck. I thought they were really cool. I thought the kaiju's looked
Well,
cool.
I mean, it's giant monsters fighting a giant man. I
Right.
remember that they did a homage to him in Ben 10,
Oh yeah.
where it was, I think, Alien X, and that was like basically Ultraman.
Right.
That's so cool.
I like what they did with Alien X though. I think they only used it like once or twice.
They also I think it was in the novel, because I think they went with Gundam in the movie. But do you remember? Oh god, what's that one where they go into the VR dimension and save the day and fight Mechagodzilla?
Oh, Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One. Remember? Yeah. So they were losing against Mechagodzilla in the book.
Yeah.
And then the one guy's like Ultraman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't there a summon to it?
Probably, yeah.
Like,
well, the one that the main character, like when it was like picking his mechs, as soon as he saw the Spider-Man mech from the Japanese Spider-Man show,
right?
He was like, "That's mine."
That's right.
And like, yeah.
Somebody else had it.
And that was the one where you go. That was when you go, Leoparden, and then like, it's.
So cool.
Yeah, the whole thing is powered by screaming at it. Like, I like, this is jumping topics, but in D&D, I DM'd a game not that long ago, and it was all about setting Avernus and Hell. But I was using one of the core books, and those are so much fun to use because like you're just like, how did you even think of this? But in Hell, eventually, like, you can get your soul like put into coins, and these are worth money. But also, and you can also do other like magic shit with them because there's a soul in there, right? But like they all drive vehicles, and the soul chips are fuel. But instead of like when you go like vroom 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 in your car, it screams because you're burning them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Like,
that's awesome.
Crazy of an idea is that? So like, yeah, you get in your car and you're in there. Yeah, like.
Picture Lobo on that shit. That's badass.
Yeah. It was really cool. Like I was reading this and I was like, this is the coolest vehicle ever that I get to DM. Like, like,
right.
What I was interested to know, like, what the players would do, because I was like, are they just gonna burn people's souls just because, And yeah, they ended up with like 3 of these things. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Nice. But anyway, like one's a motorcycle, like, but like I think they're Mad Max style, like,
right.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Anyway,
so how long could one ship last for?
I can't remember, but it was like it was like a couple of days or something.
All right. Time to juice up.
Yeah, it was, and yeah, you would and then like I said, it was also a currency, and then they could be used in some kind of magic or something like that. But the main thing in Hell is currency and your gas.
Nice.
Anyway, so Anthony Mackie says another Harrison Ford thing. This is funny. This is just a funny story. Harrison Ford wore ripped pants on the set of Captain America: Brave New World because they lost his luggage. I gave him a pair of pants, but I said I gave him a pair of pants, but those are my work pants. Harrison Ford goes, Anthony, just give me the damn pants.
This guy's a treasure. He's truly. When I'm his age, I want to be just like him.
So I didn't know this, but there is a Stranger Things stage show that is being in works. So they want you to go see it because the show is going to offer clues about the final season. The show is a prequel set in 1959 where Hopper's car won't start. Bob Newsby's sister takes his radio show seriously, and Joyce wants to graduate, and Henry Crill's arrival to the series.
Huh. Okay.
So yeah, like it's gonna like tie into the everything. So I mean, I probably won't go because I can't see myself going to a stage show, but I think it's cool they're doing that.
I've
I like
seen
it
some
when
fun
they
stage
do
shows.
cross media and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's super cool. I've been to several stage shows.
I have too, but I just not these days. I'm not gonna go.
Oh yeah, I mean, we get it, but I'm sure that they will at some point be at the Honda Center, to which I'll probably more than likely take the fam. That's cool. I'm down to see that.
Weird. I just noticed that my time is off on my Chromebook.
Oh, I thought there was a hiccup with the stream. It's like, no, we're good.
No
alerts yet.
So anyway, this is really weird. So I guess because Barbie is like doing all the right things, you know how studios are like, what other shit can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And so they've basically like pulled out like the Hasbro play chest.
Right.
Although I'm interested to know where this next trend goes. If it picks up, I'm down with all this stuff. I even kind of want to see Barbie. I probably will when it comes out, like to rent.
Right. It's PG-13. Good for
yeah,
them.
I know. Like, but anyway, like get this. Abrams is directing a Hot Wheels movie, and this is where it really throws me off because I'm like, yeah, okay, Abrams Hot Wheels. That sounds fun. He's describing it as emotional, grounded, and gritty. It's Hot Wheels. Like, what are you doing?
Okay, Fast and the Furious works. Okay, make Fast and the Furious, but add some loops. Like, just do that. The formula is there, guys.
So, but why is it going to be emotional, grounded, and gritty? Because if it's grounded, then all the crazy loops and shit and like that you would expect in Hot Wheels is gone.
Right.
And you want to, and Hot Wheels, like they make cars for everything. You could have Batman show up. You could have so much fun with this.
Right.
But emotional grounding, I don't know.
So this is what
I don't know.
So with our My Little Pony pitches, this is sort of like my idea, which is just empty out all the Hasbro toys and just let them all have at it.
But Barbie, I guess they're like, oh, let's open the toy chest. Cool. Barbie is not grounded and gritty. It's silly just by looking at it.
Right. It's
and I guess I was expecting Hot Wheels to be silly. But whatever.
That's part of the Abrams twist. See.
Yeah. Well, I think Abrams does do giant worlds very well because he handled Star Trek really well. He just has trouble once he gets his worlds playing with his toys.
Right.
So he could make a really cool universe, but I don't know. We'll see. Are you guys excited for a Hot Wheels movie? I mean, I guess.
So, did he ever have any of the Hot Wheels tracks as a kid?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Hot Wheels.
I had a couple of them. I used to take one of them and take the car launcher, and I weaponized it. So I actually held the track. It was like a little Hot Wheel Gauss rifle. It was great. I'd use it as a launcher.
I mostly played with my Hot Wheels more cinematically than I didn't really use the things much. I had my favorite car, which was a what was it? A Firebird or whatever. It was a Black Thunderbird, and the other cars, I had. But he was always the hero car. It's like, and I'd be like, oh no, and like there were bad guys trying to get him and stuff, and like I had like huge action sequences planned out in my hand.
Right.
But it was always more cinematically, you know what I mean? I was making storylines for all this.
So there was a point where I took my uncle used to work at a shoe store, so there was a bunch of empty shoe boxes, but they were like the big like men's dress boot boxes, and I connected them together, and I made like a little thing for my cars to go through, just like a town. It was fun. Playing with cars is fun.
Playing with cars is fun.
Yeah. At no point was it ever dark and gritty, and with deeper spiritual.
Oh, mine storyline sometimes went that way, like as much as my little kid brain was able to come up with anyway.
That's awesome.
So let's see. That was J.J. Abrams. Quentin Tarantino. He's confirming that Kill Bill Volume 3 isn't happening, which we kind of already knew because he had a number of films he was going to do.
Right.
But his direct quote is, "My last film is as a film about my last film is about a film critic, a male critic, and it's set in the 70s." So that's going to be his final film. But we already knew his last film was going to be called Critic. But yeah, I mean, it is a bummer. I would have loved to have seen Kill Bill Volume 3. I think it's interesting that he created a superhero essentially. And I also think it's interesting that like the characters in his universe, like she's part of it, but that's TV to them,
right?
Or that's a movie they watch,
Right.
So we're watching a movie
that they would watch
that is being watched in another universe.
It's their McBain. Like, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's cool. I know you're not a huge fan of Kill Bill. One day, if it ever goes to streaming, we'll watch it again because I'll insist. But yeah, I love Kill Bill.
It just, I get it. Maybe I'm just look at that anime style through just a completely cynical lens, but I can see how it can be cool if it's stylized properly. Yes.
I just think you took like all those like old kind of kung fu movies and made this like modern kung fu tale while infusing those elements.
Right.
Like, like the Ancient Master, and and it was like watching a 70s kung fu film,
Right.
But then he like modernized it, and I don't know. And then Uma Thurman, her acting was awesome, and it was dark as fuck. I mean, like,
oh yeah,
I loved it. But yeah, anyway, so it's a bummer in my opinion. The next one's not happening, but I didn't think it was anyway. But are you guys bummed? Did you know about this? Let us know. Okay, so this is an interesting one too. Okay, so when this movie came out, my girlfriend was like, "Let's watch it," and like, I wouldn't have watched it otherwise, but I didn't hate it. I was fine. I didn't love it.
Okay.
But Bird Box is apparently getting there's going to be a new Bird Box movie, and it's going to be released in 2 weeks. It stars Diego Calva and Georgina Campbell, and they tell us how they survive a Bird Box style apocalypse.
Huh.
Did you watch Bird Box? No.
No.
Sandra Bullock, she put on the blindfold and shit.
No, I don't think I've seen this one. No.
Really?
Yeah.
That was like huge for a while. Like everybody was talking about it.
No.
I'm shocked.
If so, I just don't remember.
The plot is like Sandra Bullock, like shit shows up and nobody can look at them. Otherwise, you like go insane and die. And then like some people survive and they like try and make you look at everything.
All right, okay.
And then you have to put on blindfolds.
Okay, yeah.
Because
I know you're okay. I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
Did you watch it? Or you
no,
just
I know of it. I just didn't watch it.
Yeah, so it's I would say like a mid-tier film.
Okay.
You got to do what you got to do but it entertaining enough though that like you're like, yeah, you can watch it and you're not gonna hate it. You know what I mean?
It's benign, but
it's benign, but the
notable.
Concept's interesting enough that you're like following it.
Right.
It would make a good Behold Nerds one day if you haven't seen it. But yeah, in 2 weeks we're getting a sequel.
Okay.
I just find that an interesting film. I guess it makes sense because everybody was talking about it when it came out.
I do remember everybody talking about it. So if I'm thinking back, maybe just sort of the concept on like a superficial level just reminded me too much of was it A Quiet Place that I just didn't want to.
Well, I guess they're similar because A Quiet Place is like you can't make a sound.
Yeah, so I think in my head, I just remember thinking, "Oh, this just seems like that," and I just moved on to something else. So, or maybe I just wasn't.
Quiet Place is also good.
I never saw the second.
I don't know. I haven't seen the second one, but I enjoyed the first one.
I wonder if the second one's on streaming right now. Let me look that up real quick, because that could be a great Behold Nerds.
Also, coming out soon. Netflix in 2 weeks is releasing, or sorry, it's not 2 weeks. This is a different one. So there is an anime created by WIT Studio And it's going to be a Suicide Squad isekai anime.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what isekai is?
Is that uh, uh, uh what is isekai?
Isekai is, remember I told you this current trend where it's in another world, or
Oh,
like you
yeah, yeah,
die and go to another world.
yeah. Right.
That's isekais. So
Okay.
it's going to be an isekai based on the Suicide Squad. So like I don't know what that, like maybe you die and you wake up and you're a member of the Suicide Squad in that world, or maybe like you become one of those characters.
Okay.
It's going to be another world thing. So like, or maybe they're playing a video game.
Right.
It's going to be something like that.
They're
You know?
playing Quantum Drift. That's what they're doing. Yes.
Yeah, or like they're playing Suicide Squad, the VR game,
Right.
and like that it could be something like that. But yeah, it's another world, but with the Suicide Squad. I saw some of the stills for the animation. It looks good. I saw Harley Quinn. She looks just like Harley Quinn.
Mm.
I mean, you can see it's an anime version, but at
Right.
the same time, it's very clear to the
She's
character.
recognizably Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the other Marvel, well, the Marvel ones. I can't think of a DC one I've seen, but I've seen Marvel, but anime.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly I didn't like it. It was too. I don't know. It sounds weird, but too anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I don't
not
like the anime counterparts of like the Justice League or like
yeah. Well, I haven't seen the Justice League, but I've seen the Marvel one, and it was like, and I tried to watch it, but it wasn't that they went the goofy route. They went like ultra serious,
right,
and it was too serious,
right,
and so I just kind of checked out. I didn't think it was bad, but this one looks promising, and I think it would be interesting to do an isekai. I've watched a few of those. So I would watch it. You think would you watch it or not?
If you say, "Hey, Cap, turn this on and watch it," so we can talk about it, I'd probably watch it.
All right. Yeah, that's all I got. Do you have anything to add to nerdy news?
No, not really. You said, yeah, that's it. Harrison Ford's the greatest man on earth. I would love to just breathe his air. Harrison Ford.
All right. Well,
yeah, that's me.
Let us know in comments, or if you're watching us now, if there's anything else you'd like us to cover next week. And then other than that,
Harrison Ford and Idris Elba. Yes.
Let's jump on to something else.
It's my Hollywood power couple right there.
I know you haven't seen it, but I'm super excited to talk My Adventures of Superman.
Yeah, so it's on like what platform is it on? What service is it on?
It's on TV on Cartoon Network. It comes out midnight. Okay. I don't remember what day.
Okay.
And then it's also on.
Is it on HBO or Max?
Yeah, it's on Max. Okay. Yeah, and that it comes out the day after Cartoon Network. So like, because I was like, oh, it's after midnight, but it wasn't on yet.
Okay.
But then I was like up at like 4 a.m. and it was on or something like that. Mm-hmm. So there is a delay between the two, but it's basically coming out at the same time.
So I'm going to give you the reaction from little.
I think there's a lot of stupid reactions that are like, I'm like, really? But whatever.
So, and I quote, "The new Superman cartoon is so cute, you need to watch it. I love it." That is coming from the youngling. So, all I know is that Superman undergoes a bit of a Sailor Moon-esque type transformation. That's fine. I'm sure they explain it. That's really all I know about it.
Okay. So, basically, it's you have Clark, you have Mom and Pa Kent.
Right.
It's a very wholesome version of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And like this, it's like it starts and he wakes up and he's like, I'm a normal guy going to work for the first time and I'm going to be a reporter. Mm-hmm. And then he tries, but then he has to be Superman on the way to work. And he doesn't have the suit yet. But, he has to help people when he needs to. And that's what they're setting up with the character.
Right.
You meet Lois Lane. She's a very different version of Lois Lane, but she's still Lois Lane. She's like eager to be a reporter.
Right.
One of the you also meet Jimmy. Jimmy's kind of fun. He's like,
I've always liked Jimmy.
Yeah, but this one's a bit different. He's he's eager to take photos and stuff, but he's obsessed with aliens and shit. And he's like, "Oh, it's aliens!" every time, and he's a fun character.
Okay.
But so they're younger versions of the character. They're very fun. I found them fun, and instantly there's an attraction between Clark and Lois.
Okay.
And anyway, Lois has this story about robots. Harry's like, "What are you? You're interns. Make me coffee. That's your job."
That's
And
awesome. So they're all starting off at the same time. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but Lois tricks them because she's the main intern. She like tricks them to go and help them get the story.
Right.
They end up going up against robots. Clark has to help, and then goes from there. Clark wants to find out who he is.
Right.
But it's about these three characters. And the transformation happens because he opens the ship, his child ship,
right,
and it like gives him the suit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to do that transformation again and again. I read it as that was giving him the suit.
Right. I knew no context. All I knew is that.
Well, because his mom adds to it, she then says, "Oh, it needs a belt in the trunks." I know you're not a fan of the trunks, but they're definitely going for a classic Superman.
Yeah. Actually, I dig. I'm pro trunks. I am pro trunks. Not puffy trunks, not diaper trunks.
No. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's me that doesn't like the trunks. Right. You're fine.
Yeah, I like the trunks, but
I like them in this context because they're going for a classic look.
Right.
Anyway, so they it's a hopeful young Superman. He's not that powerful, in my opinion.
He's coming into his powers. He needs to absorb more of that sun, Frosty. He's charging.
Anyway, well, they could just be doing a weaker Superman, but it doesn't matter. And like I said, there's a romance between Clark and Lois instantly. And the things that Lois recognizes him is how like amazing of a person he is, and like how he's the nicest, kindest person she's ever met. And that's what I want. I want the nicest kind of Superman I've ever met, you know?
Right.
The things against it, I will say, is it's very family friendly. So it is skewed towards a younger audience, but it's one of those shows that even though it's for kids, if you're an adult, you can still love the shit out of this.
Okay.
The complaints I've heard from some people that watch us is they think it's like, oh, it's in the She-Ra style, from the Netflix thing, and everybody's too cute, and what did someone say? I don't know. One of Bubba, like he watches our show.
Damn it, it's cool woke, guy. Frosty. It's woke.
No, I'm not going there, but
it just had
I mean, pretty much that is the opinion. You got it right though. Is that they believe it's
damn it, Frosty? Woke. They have depowered Superman to make way for this Lois Lane character who's probably a minority.
There's like it's anime mixed with cow style, whatever that is, art.
Yeah. Like
there's these art critics that are saying like, oh, that style is just like it's that kind of She-Ra style.
Yeah.
But like that's still the style. Like, and it's not bad. It's the animation is pretty solid, and the story is strong enough. Like watching Superman struggle against the robots,
right?
And like he's gotten the shit kicked out of him. He's got a black eye, and he's just like. But he's not going to stop. But then Lois like presses all the buttons and decommissions the robots and stuff, and so he doesn't have to fight the last ones. Oh, this is the other one. Spoilers, but Deathstroke's in it.
Yeah.
But it's not Deathstroke the way you would normally think of Deathstroke. It's a very young Deathstroke.
Right.
And but a lot of people are claiming that he looks too feminized, and they're saying
he's the newbie.
Yeah, but they're saying that he looks too feminine and stuff, and it's like, no, he doesn't. Just shut up. And then other people are bitching, saying like he's not a Superman villain. He can fight. The responses to that I've been giving is like, I was like, someone like, oh yeah, he's not a Superman villain,
dude. He's a bounty hunter, yo. Like,
no, but the response I've been giving is like. Well, someone should tell him that he's not allowed to fight Superman, and then I post pictures from the comics of the times he's fought Superman.
Right.
Because, like, and that's why I actually messaged you guys in the group chat and was like remembering the fight between him and Clark when Clark was drunk.
Right.
Yeah. Because he was, so if you haven't seen this bit, Deathstroke was hired to kill Bruce Wayne, but his Bruce Wayne's friend Clark was hanging out on the boat, and he tried to poison the champagne, but all it did to Superman was make him a little bit like
Tipsy.
drunk and his voice was slurring.
Right.
And then Deathstroke's like, fine, I'll fight you. And then it was just like clang, clang, clang. His sword's all broken. What the hell? And he's like, and then Superman's kind of drunk. It's like, you wrecked Bruce Wayne's shirt. And he's like, you go by. And then sends him flying. It was really good.
Superman's great. So I actually set out with the intention this morning to watch this show, but for some reason I just couldn't find it. And as I was surfing through the streaming, I tuned into the American Gladiators documentary. Just dropped. Love it. Loved it. Recommend it. Shut up and take my money. Interesting read or watch. Yeah, that's another tangent. But
no, it's cool. Like, I mean, all I know about the American Gladiators is it's a copy of Gladiators, which is a British show.
So they did mention that there was a British version that was actually bigger than our version.
It was also the first one.
Was it? Because they
that's why it's Gladiators and then American Gladiators, and then they did it again with Idol and then Pop Idol, and then they made American Idol.
Just stealing everybody else's stuff.
No, it's fine. It's just a lot of American TV is
The Office.
There's a lot of it. Shameless.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the American versions are better, in my opinion, but I mean that's subjective.
And then Ninja Warrior happened, freaking Iron Chef happened. But anyways, it was an enjoyable watch. I started it and I got hooked because it's interesting. They had most of them on. You remember what happened with the original Power Rangers, where they were just overworked, underpaid, and their contracts were so flimsy that they wouldn't go out. And so it was that, but with the American Gladiators, it was the same thing, where they were contracted in perpetuity, so that they didn't get anything outside. There was no growth, no increase in wages or anything. It was just a stagnant pay, and they got
always happens though, because like when you get those jobs, you're like hell yes, and like the company you're with is like hell yes, I can't believe. And you start small,
right?
But then they're starting to grow, and you're the stars, but you're not getting that pay rate increase that you should be getting,
right?
And with actors, I think they're just another form of creative, and it just like with creatives, like I've designed stuff for companies, and it's like they're like, here's $100. I'm like, thanks.
Right.
And now they're like making like thousands off of my designs, and it's like that's why you can do stuff in design, and this is how actors should do it too. I'm sure a lot have agents do,
right?
But you can set it up so like the company's allowed to make X amount on your designs, and they retain the copyright. But once they go past that amount,
you get residual.
They're then required to pay you.
See, that's fair.
I think so.
That's totally fair.
But like not like the guy who invented Wolverine, I think it was like he's been paid jack shit for that.
Yeah.
And it's like and Marvel's arguing, well, he was hired like you are at a job.
Right. You come up with a thing, it's
their
property.
To draw.
Right.
Yeah, and they keep it. And I mean that is fair, but at the same time when
it's the same thing at Disney too. It's the same thing at Disney. Anything
I know, but that's what I mean. But I think that all art should be treated like that. Like because you get screwed over as a creative. It's like my thing has now made you like infinite money, and you're not hooking me up. Like I mean, at least do like okay, we've made this much money, we now need to give them a cut.
Right.
Right. Anywho, What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the Gladiator show. So yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. It's I think only 5 episodes, but yeah, I used to watch the shit out of this show. It was one of those shows where, as a kid of the '90s, if you stayed home sick or there was a holiday, you tuned into American Gladiators. There was a Price is Right, and then if you had all the talk shows, you had Springer was on, so there was like the daytime TV, and then it transitioned over to cartoons. And American Gladiators was just part of my daily regimen. I watched the shit out of that show.
Mm.
So yeah, shut up and take my money. It's on Netflix. Check it out.
Let's see. Oh, so we did get another episode of Secret Invasion. Again, Cav hasn't seen it yet.
No.
I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I will say this is. There's been some good shows. This is definitely a top tier TV show within the MCU as well. I guess it's talked about it before. It's got a more serious grind. I'm amazed that I'm watching like dude's fingers getting cut off. In this last episode, dude gets his hand stabbed and then rips his hand through the blade. And this is on Disney. Right. Like that's the part that I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
They're slowly turning up the thermostat. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're
well, I mean,
small doses.
Deadpool's being reported as still hard R. So
right. So that's how you introduce the hard R.
I know, but in terms of violence, this is already a hard R.
Right.
But anyway, so this show's so good. If you haven't been watching it and you're into like more serious spy thrillers, it's really good. It definitely differentiates itself from the comics, but like I said, the guy getting stabbed and pulling it out. So did you see they listed like Groot, Extremis, Frost Monster, whatever that thing's called, and the guy whose hand got cut off by Doctor Strange, something.
Yeah. Ebony. No, there's Ebony Mole. Cole. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I know. You're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So those three: Groot, Cole, the Frost Beast, and whatever the last one was. Right. Sorry. Those four they were listed, and you're like, oh, cool. And then like Extremis, because he pulls the knife out and we see his hand heal up with the Extremis power.
Nice.
And they're talking about making Super Skrulls. And so those are the four strands. And then we saw in the trailer he holds out his hand and it like stretches out like Groot. So they're kind of making a Super Skrull like from the comics. But in the comics, it was used. They used the Fantastic Four's powers. They're using these other characters that are already established in the MCU to give them a similar power set.
Okay,
that's cool.
That's cool.
So we saw that, and I was like, hell yeah,
that's cool.
And also with this, okay, again, I'm not going to give anything out for this episode.
Okay,
but it's rumored. Rumors. This isn't real, but it could be that there was a photo that was released, and it had Doctor Doom talking to a character.
Okay.
And now they're like, what if this is how they introduce Doctor Doom at the end of this?
Ooh, okay.
And like how that ties in, I don't know, but like, it also because the character that plays, what's his name, Talos? Yeah. He gave, it was a silly interview, but still, he gave this interview talking about how awesome Doctor Doom is. He's like, the Fantastic Four, they suck, but they made the best villain. And he's like, and he goes on to talk about Doctor Doom and the mythos of Doctor Doom and how much he thinks Doctor Doom is a badass. And like, so that with the leaked photo, people are wondering if they had like Doctor Doom's going to come in with this.
That would explode the internet. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But there's also theories of we also in this last episode we find out a little bit more about like what's happened with the blip and where Fury was, and then remember they introduced Fury's Skrull wife and shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get more of that. People die, but what's like, holy shit, are they going to be alive still? I don't know. There's an awesome scene at this art gallery, and they're talking about the painting and how the painting reflects them, and then you think, well, they're both on opposite sides, and it's a metaphor. And I'm just like, God damn, this TV is so good. You gotta watch this show.
Yeah, we're planning on watching a lot of things today. It's been a rough week with.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I was late too. I had to wake up this morning. I was just chilling, and I was like, oh shit, it's Pitchers today. My whole family's in town, so I've just been hanging out with them. And so I was like, oh yeah, I gotta watch this shit. So I just watched it this morning.
So should I take my money? Yes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I'll tell you. So really quick, just quick side note. Although I didn't watch the new Superman, I did go back and rewatch the 1940s Superman that you had mentioned on the show.
Ones, the cartoons, those are brilliant.
So,
yeah.
So when you mentioned this before, my brain immediately went back to this time when I was in TLC, and whenever they would wheel out the TV, as they did back in the day, and they'd pull out whatever dollar store bargain bin, like cassette tapes they had, as they did back then, they plopped it in. This is what I was pretty sure you were talking about, and this is what we were, the VHSs that we used to watch when I was a kid in daycare were some of these Superman cartoons. Holy shit, the animation! Jesus hell! Fantastic animation.
Well, again, like, so each of these episodes was $50,000 put into a 5-minute short, which in today's money, that's Game of Thrones episode money.
Right. So,
and that's Game of Thrones episode money in a 5-minute animation. Like that's insane.
In the 40s. So good. It's so good. Favorite character is Lois Lane. She is just, in the first episode, she flies a plane to the bad guy's lair to confront him as a reporter, and she's captured, and then Superman comes and saves her. And then it cuts to the end where it's like, oh, great article there, Lois, and everything is by Lois Lane, and Superman is just this dude in the background. It's about Lois Lane. It's great.
Yeah.
And when we did our Superman pitches, it's great because I kind of wanted to do the same thing where it's a Lois Lane story. It tracks her most of the time until Superman comes up.
Yeah, and, dude, your idea inspired my idea, and I was talking about that just on Twitter with some people this week. That because they were talking about Zack Snyder and his version of Doomsday, and I said no, a cooler Doomsday movie would be a Lois Lane movie, and you shoot the whole thing through the Daily Planet camera, like Jimmy's on camera, right, helicopter, and you're watching in the distance as Superman is brawling with Doomsday,
right.
So it's this 2-hour
it's Cloverfield with Superman.
It's 2-hour slugfest / kind of like survival film, like 2012 kind of style.
Right.
And she's trying to report the whole thing while watching her husband get beaten to death.
Yeah.
That to me is such a cool fucking idea.
I would watch the shit out of that. I truly would.
Dude, it's that to me. Okay, I love it because that's a unification of me and you. Like we pulled the fucking Captain Planet and combined our. Honestly,
into one idea.
I think that's the finest work we've done since we've released the podcast.
Right.
I was like adding James Gunn, being like, "Dude, you got to talk to us. We got a fucking idea." I don't know. I'll try and pitch it around a little bit, see if we can get some traction.
So I think the trick is to treat Superman like a cryptid. Start early on, track Lois Lane, have her be like the up and coming reporter, or no, keep it as it is, where she's watching the husband.
I think it's got to be her husband.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But this whole time she has to keep her composure while she's reporting on this thing. Oh, good God!
But also make it like a survival, like a 2012, because like the city's getting fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Their helicopter crash, like run, and Doomsday appears.
Just stomping through and just runs.
Yeah, like and like you could even have JL characters coming in, like and just having him murder the shit out of them, like just to show how terrible. It's like, oh fuck yes, it's Martian Manhunter's here, and Doomsday goes boom, and his head just
Explodes
gets
him in the
ripped
goo.
off. Yeah, exactly. Like,
Right.
anyway,
Ooh, I'm getting nerd vapors over here. Ah, goodness
so
gracious.
Unicorn Warriors had a finale. What did you think?
Um, boy, I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen the finale, so there's probably details I'm going to miss. Um, my brain has been stuffed with other things. It left on one of those yeah moments, and it's like,
Yeah,
no, I want
yeah,
more.
yeah. That was my main critique, is it left on one of those job moments. I actually think the episode before the final episode
Was
was the
better.
best episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Because it started with like this bad, like the best fight scene, like they're all flying towards it, like the guy and yeah, and it just looked cool.
Right.
And then you had, because she's kind of been the main character, Melinda Emma, and we had this Emma, and they get split,
They
and then
get
we had the
split, and
story of
yeah.
Emma coming back together, and then the giant Voltron moment, and then I was like expecting that to be the end of the show, and then it did this last thing, and oh, what are we gonna do? And then like, yeah, like you said, well, we'll stop them one day, yeah. And it was just like, the show is fantastic. I wish they wrapped it up in a better way, and
Yeah.
then left off for more.
Yeah.
Um,
So you know what this needed? It needed the Game of Thrones approach, where you had that big moment in episode 9, and then you saw the after effect in episode 10. Like it needed
yeah,
that one extra episode to really just feel the weight of what happened, and that's the one thing I really like what they do with Game of Thrones, that it had that extra episode to just let it all sink in, and then
that's a good point.
and that's where it left you, and that's what got you excited for the next season, because it gave you that
Well,
moment to savor it.
yeah, but I want to say though, so while I was underwhelmed by the ending, as a series,
Oh,
it's a just take my money.
absolutely. So I love this weird little universe that he created. There's
Mhm.
werewolves, there's these elves, and just there's all this mythos in steampunk UK in the
Yeah.
1800s. It's weird, but I love it. It's so weird. I love it.
Yeah, it
There's
has
a lot
like
of
that kind of old school, and like
yeah, it just
like the cops and stuff.
yeah,
And like,
it's like Fantasia in some
yeah,
element. I really love Gendy Tatoski.
yeah.
I love his style. I know it's not for everybody, but he really knows how to chew up the scenery. Like
Yeah, he's a good artist, and I think everything that he puts out is very good. Fantastic actually.
right.
But
I still
yeah, I
think
can
his
understand where
version
like
of the Clone
people.
Wars is superior to
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I've never seen anything of his that I wasn't like, man, this is an amazing, talented artist. Like, I
Right.
love everything he does.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I mean. It's a just I'm taking my money, 100%.
Mm.
The only critique I had was the ending, but I think that's a fair critique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. Not sure when we're getting a season 2, but hopefully soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, there's other projects that he's going to be doing. Like, I think he said that he's going to be doing more Primal or something like that. And
yeah. Hopefully, Titan, fingers crossed.
I keep posting that anytime I talk to a Snyder fan, because they always do hashtag restore the Snyderverse.
Mm-hmm.
I go hashtag restore the symbiotic Titanverse. And I've been doing that all over. Like, a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, that is a good idea.
Right. It was so great. You know what? It was really great to be a part of that campaign to try to keep that.
I want to get Megas on there, but yeah, I think I was like, and I did a couple of times, but like, I think, yeah, let's focus on one, and if we can make that happen, we'll focus on Megas.
So what ended up happening was, during this campaign was going on, there's 2 other shows that were also being canceled, much smaller shows. So there's a Robotomy and forget the other one, but there's 2 lesser shows that were on Cartoon Network at the time that were also getting axed, and we had so much momentum. Holy smokes, we had momentum on our Facebook page. It was great, and we had support from people who worked on the show, and some actresses on the show. holy crap, like it was a really cool thing to be a part of, and we actually got the attention and response from Cartoon Network. That's fucking cool. So I would do it all over again. So hearing that there's talks of him wanting to bring it back, fucking yes, give him all the money.
Yeah,
give him all the money.
Cool.
So,
like I said, I loved Symbiote Titan. I watched it because of your high recommendations. I am super 100% behind that coming back. Actually, I think I'm gonna rewatch it. I just started to like thinking like there's not been a lot of series I can just sit and binge lately,
right?
And like I'm like maybe I'll rewatch some of these things.
Like I think the best episode is the episode where the main male character Lance. It's showing his backstory. And you think it's going to end on this like happy note, and it just takes such a dark turn at the end, and it's like, oh shit, like
for me, the show that I have that kind of level of love for though is Megas.
Yeah,
like oh god, Megas was just so good. It was like the funniest show, and yet it was badass, and
it was
the references it had.
It was a satirical love letter to every genre.
Yeah. It was so good, and oh man,
I love Coop.
My favorite part is when like he fights the. Well, I have a lot of favorite parts. I mean, they do a Sailor Moon transformation episode,
and they're just standing there.
Thing keeps going on and on and on. Yeah,
they're just standing there.
Or like when they fought the Power Rangers kind of guys, they they show up with their like robots are like half his size. And he just kind of laughs and then and then at the end he has to fight like a bigger thing. And he's like, "We'll combine," but there's no combining.
Right? So
he just grabbed one of them and like put it on his foot and it's like bending metal around them in their little things. And it was so good. Yeah.
I love how he controlled it with like a PlayStation controller. It's just
it was a car, and it was a muscle car,
right,
with a PlayStation, like couple of controllers hooked up to the steering wheels, right, as well as other school things. In one episode, he couldn't get to it, and so he was like, "We're gonna have to deploy backup mode," and he like plugs in like an Atari, and and you're like, he's trying to get you're watching the fight with Megas and he's like, turn, and he's got the wheel thing, and he's doing that.
Right.
And Megas is slowly going around. It was awesome, though. And then he fought in a a wrestling style and stuff.
He's a grappler.
It was so good.
Yeah. Anyways, what else has been going on? Oh, I need to show my babies. Hold on. So I treated myself. So we have, I think I posted on the nerd chat, but I got the Polystone statue of the High Wind from Final Fantasy VII, my favorite airship. Behind that would be the R-Wing from Star Fox, gorgeous. It's actually number 5 out of 500, so got super excited about that. I've wanted that for a while. Yeah, those are my fun toys. Just need somewhere to put.
That's really cool. I'm always jealous. I when I get better, I'll start collecting again.
So I don't really have a lot of statues for myself. Mrs. Cap's got that one, all of these. She has most of the statues, so I actually have a couple of my own now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably jump into Battle Nerds.
Oh, let's do Battle Nerds. So,
and then we still got the Hold Nerds. So we got a couple of things. So Battle Nerds.
So Battle Nerds. Want to do it?
Battle Nerds. It's our game. We created 100 iconic characters. We put a list together of 100 iconic characters. We random roll to see which one we get. Then we have to come up with a convincing argument as to why our character would win. They can be completely outlandish, like this one. Last week's, we had Iron Man versus Cartman. Cartman did okay, but ultimately Iron Man just went and then Cartman went and that was it.
That was a fun
I also
fight.
imagine that was more fun than I thought it would be. But Iron Man survives and goes on. Cartman's out. And then we rolled up. I got Captain America,
Mhm.
and hilariously, Cap got Lassie.
I have been wanting Lassie for so long. God, to
All right.
watch any episode, I've always been wanting to be the one to represent Lassie. So,
All right.
um,
Well, one of the rules is we're allowed to pick whichever version of the characters we would like.
yes.
I have chosen the Cap Wolf version of Captain America.
Oh boy.
So in the comics, Captain America briefly became a werewolf.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool. He's still got his shield. He's enhanced because he's got werewolf powers.
Mhm.
So he's no longer peak human. He's beyond peak human.
Mhm.
I guess super soldier peak human. So he's pretty tough.
Okay.
And yeah, and which version of Lassie have you chosen?
I'm going with classic Lassie. Oh, Lassie. I'm going with this classic Lassie. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
This is a Lassie that has gone toe to toe against cougars, against bobcats, bears, helped Timmy out of the well. The thing about Lassie is that she is not afraid to go toe to toe with anything. But if she can't, if she feels like it's out of her league, she knows exactly who to run to deal with said threat.
Okay.
So.
Well, okay. So this is. I'll go first because I have the obvious one.
Yeah.
Why Cat Wolf wins. Well, the scenario that I hilariously imagine is he throws his shield. She like runs. Then,
Fight!
And then the shield comes back to him, and there's like blood smeared on it. But specifically, Cap Wolf. I mean, yeah, he's just very powerful. If they actually were to throw down, he would murder the shit out of her.
So Lassie is a Sheltie.
Well, hang on. I don't know why. I can't come up with it. Maybe he's mind controlled because Captain America's not gonna kill Lassie.
No. This is when he was agent of Hydra. We'll do that.
Okay, so he's been changed by the stone.
Yeah.
And all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Red Skull, I'll change it to that one. I thought I like Cap Wolf because of the dog thing.
I mean, they can still fight.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
Cap Wolf, but I'm
doing Cap Wolf.
The scenario is
the magic hands reached into the toy box and grabbed these two contenders and plopped them down. Fight. It's a true Smash Brothers moment here.
Is gonna die. Yeah.
This is Sonic versus Solid Snake. We're gonna make it happen. So, here I'll do this. So, if I see him using the shield, I can see her jumping up and catching it. She's fucking Lassie, yo. I can even see her like catching it and like being smart enough to know the physics to throw it back, but not as powerful, but enough to be like, all right, dog, to sort of move in hand to hand. If
shield like okay, I know this is going back to a different Hulk than what is nowadays, but I've seen him throw the shield and like go clang off the Hulk's head, and he's like ow for like just a tiny bit.
Now remember, we have to scale down to like a Wolverine versus Hulk or Thor versus Captain America. There has to be a scale.
I get it. It's a scale down, but what I'm saying is that shield's not a weak attack. If a dog caught it, it's gonna not have a head. I mean, like.
All right. So, God, I could see Lassie just biting him straight in the balls, just instinctively going for the nuts. Honestly, though, I can see Lassie just seeing this is completely out of her league. I can see her barking.
All right, so let's imagine. So the story is that Captain America is ripped from his universe,
right,
and then given the Cap Wolf serum, which makes him think that little Timmy is an agent of Hydra, which is going to destroy the world.
Yes.
And so he tries to rip, but Timmy has Lassie.
Yes.
So Lassie like jumps in front of Captain America, but you got to admit that's not going to work. So where are you going from there?
So Lassie is going to run off to the next door neighbor who might work for like some army sergeant who has like some type of munitions. She's going to know exactly who to go to contend with this thing. People, well, you have to think of like that era of television, like bark, bark. What's that, girl? Bark, bark. You need a what? Bark, bark. Okay, let's go find it. There's a what? Bark, bark. So
no. I got it. Okay. Here we are. So earlier in the episode,
Right.
like Timmy's like, "Gosh, what are you working on, Mister Blah blah blah?" And he's like, "Oh, it's the super soldier serum. Yeah, Cadet Rogers is going to be here." And then,
Okay.
and then, the other universe Rogers, given the wolf serum, makes him think that Timmy's going to destroy the planet, and then he needs to stop him.
Right.
And so he's got Timmy in his lair because how is Lassie going to stop him?
Right.
Combat style. Lassie runs off. She remembers the chamber, and then she bark, 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 and then she presses the button, and then jumps in the super soldier chamber, and then it's all like she comes out and she's ripped Lassie.
Yes. This is why we need a bag of money.
And she picks up, like, I don't know, the dog collar made of vibranium.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd watch the shit out of that. I would watch the shit out of that.
All right, I think I get your argument though. Is that she's gonna have so Lassie's power is to always get help that can solve the problem.
Right.
So that's how she's gonna win this fight.
Right.
Okay. My counter argument is as soon as they throw down, he's just gonna
right. So if she could just survive long enough or be able to identify the threat early on to know that, you know what, I can throw down with a black bear, I ain't gonna mess with that. I'm gonna run the Mr. Scientist guy that they established early on in the episode as like the means of being like the agency who can deal with this threat. And somehow everybody seems to know what the issue is. It's weird. Like she knows how to speak human through just bark, bark. What's that, girl? Bark, bark. Cadet Rogers is on the loose. Bark, bark.
Yeah, but the idea of her becoming their universe's Captain America is just hilarious to me.
Right.
Like I could totally see her later in like a the Stars and Stripes like dog vest,
Right. But it is not up to
then there would be comics of like Lassie like biting Hitler in the nuts instead of Captain America knocking him out.
Right. Just completely alter the timeline.
Yeah, which is why he was sent there to stop it.
Yes. If anybody's watching, give us a bag of money.
Wouldn't want either character to like go down.
Right, so they need to turn their focus to the real enemies.
They find out the Red Skull was controlling things with the what do you call it, the cosmic cube,
right?
Changing the reality.
So here's what happens. It's Lassie who discovers that, and she's the one that approaches Rogers. Bark, bark. What's that, girl? Bark, bark. You mean it was the Red Skull the whole time? Bark, bark. You're right. We should team up. Let's go get him, girl.
Or they could understand each other because he's Capwolf.
Yeah,
that's why.
Okay.
So after the fight, it's the initial fight between them. Well, maybe during the fight, like they're like both fucking tired and shit.
Right.
And then she's like, no, you don't understand. We need the Martha moment.
Right.
And then the
Martha
Captain
moment.
America's like got her, and then she's like, save Timmy or something.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, once we had the Martha moment, then they joined forces, and then they take down the actual bad guy, which was Red Skull all along.
Yes,
that sounds like a good movie.
I watch the shit out of that. Give us a bag of money. The pitch nerds. This is what we do, yo. What do we?
All right. Well, we'll put up a poll on Twitter and Facebook.
So Facebook, hold on, Facebook friends, please vote on the polls. Y'all stop voting. What's up? Did I offend y'all? I hope not.
Well, we do okay on Twitter. That's a conversation because we are looking at other social media networks.
Right.
Let us know what you're moving to if you're staying on Twitter or not. Yeah, we'll put up a poll on Twitter and Facebook. Go ahead and vote. Let us know who won the debate. Whether it was Capwolf from the comic books or Lassie from the classic TV show. You have our reasons, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Shall we?
Let's roll for next week's.
So I gotta say, Mrs. Cap got me this lovely dice tray, collapsible.
Oh, I got a dice tray.
Nice. So even though I don't actively play D&D, I'm still rely on the dice when I'm coming up with shit with quantum. Um, so I'm still rolling dice. I still put my dice
It's under 33 now, dude.
under 33.
Yeah, I have to re-roll so many times now.
I got a 26.
All right, so you had him last time. You get to argue for him again.
Yes.
Air Bud.
Yes.
He beat the Joker.
Yeah, he did. Oh, I'm getting the dogs. Yes.
Oh, this is hilarious because we had Lassie and then you got another dog.
Right.
And we've talked about a different matchup, but here we go. It is Air Bud versus Godzilla.
Yes. Yes. All right. So tune in next Sunday. Pitch Nerds Volume 110.
I guess you got superpowers, don't you? So it'd be super. Are you gonna go the superpowers Air Bud thing?
I could, but I can just picture. Treat it like Space Jam, okay? I say it's sort of okay.
I knew you were going to go there because there was all those things of it was Godzilla going up against what was the basketball player?
Oh yeah,
Dennis Rodman.
Was it Rodman?
I think so.
Okay.
And yeah, there was that huge. I guess that we have to do that, don't we? So I'm gonna go Air Bud versus the basketball playing Godzilla.
Yes.
All right, so tune in for that. That'll be an interesting one. Let's see. So we have Behold Nerds.
Oh yes. So it was your pick last week. So Behold Nerds is our weekly book club, if you will. We each take turns suggesting something for the other to watch, and we encourage those at home to watch as well and join us in an open discussion of what we thought about the thing that we watched. It was Frosty's pick last week. This is something that neither of us had watched, right?
No. Yeah, I didn't really know. I knew it was based on a comic written by the Hellboy guy, the guy that writes Hellboy.
Okay.
And but I have not read the comic, so I can't really give it. This is not a comparison for me anyway, because I haven't read it. But that's all I knew. And then they made this animated movie.
Okay, so it is a Batman movie. What the Doom that came to Gotham, right? Is that the tagline? Neither of us had seen it. You had suggested it. So what did you think?
So it was out to buy for a long time. And then I was like, and then the price dropped down to rental. And I was like, it's going to be on HBO Max eventually.
Right.
Or Max. And then I was like, we'll just wait. But then I got tired of waiting. So the surprise for me was I went to rent it and they're like, oh, it's on Max for free. And then I was like, oh, shit. So as soon as I suggested it, like, we got it for free. I was so happy.
That's awesome.
I know it's only like $6, but still, like, I live on a disabled person's income.
Right.
So it was a great show. Great movie. Okay. I have to, I'll say this. I loved it in a lot of ways.
Okay.
The one thing it suffered from is the same thing a lot of these suffer from. It's too much condensed into a short movie.
Right.
It's like, because you're being introduced character.
Right.
And like it's so much of that, the movie doesn't have time to breathe. However, if you're like me, where you're already like, I know who everybody is.
Right.
You don't have to tell me. That's why I think this movie is made for people like me.
Right.
Because they don't bother with being like, oh, this is who this is. Oh,
you know who it. When you see red hair,
I'm like, that's Poison Ivy.
Right. Right. Like, when you see the red hair,
and well, they're doing that. I'm like, that's their Poison Ivy. I'm like, that's badass.
That's cool. There's a weird origin for it, but I loved it.
Yeah. So the movie is basically an Elseworld movie,
set in like 1940s Gotham.
Yeah, it's
very noir.
Noir Gotham by Gaslight, but they're fighting Cthulhu, and it's very much a Cthulhu story. Like, not exactly, of course, but It's like if you've read any of the Cthulhu novels, it's people that are fighting him knowing they themselves are doomed because they are fighting them.
Right.
So their gloves are off. People are dying left and right in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like, holy shit, they killed Dick Grayson.
Right.
And like characters don't even have time to grieve. You find like these sad histories, like Oliver is an alcoholic, and he turns out to be this like crusader knight that manages to kill like this crazy version of Poison Ivy.
Right.
There's like so much.
I love this universe as Ollie, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, there's so like, and it's dark and it's sad. Bruce has to like stick magic arrows into his like children and stuff like that.
Right.
They had there's like this other version of what's her name, Cassandra Cain.
Yeah.
But her name is different. I can't remember what it was. It was like Kylie.
It was Kylie. I at first I thought it was Carrie Kelly because I thought I heard Kelly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, it was no, she's like their what's her name, orphan, basically, or bad girl.
Right.
So yeah, it was. I thought it was awesome. I can see where people might be turned off, especially if you're not already like a huge Batman nerd.
Versed in,
and I sat this down and made you watch it, you would just probably turn off because you don't like.
No, what's going. Yeah, this is like an advanced nerd tier level watch if you really want to truly appreciate it, because they introduce characters but don't tell you on the nose who they are. They just assume you know who they are.
It's like this dark tragic version of already dark tragic characters,
right?
Like Harvey Dent, like he's Two-Face, but in this, like he becomes a doorway, and that's this whole Two-Face, and then he's like, kill me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the all of these characters, even Batman's origin is dark and sad,
right?
And it ends sadly,
right?
You know, there is no hope in this universe. The only thing that these characters are doing is trying to prevent a greater evil, and they're doomed because they are doing so.
Right.
So you can totally see the Hellboy writers' influence.
Hold on, real quick.
Well, what did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. What I liked about it is it didn't. It assumed that you already knew who everybody was. It's an Elseworld. This isn't something where if you've never watched Batman before and watch this, you're not going to know what's going on. It's sadly that is not the demographic. Well, some people who've never known who Batman is will watch this for the first time and maybe like it. Sure, I believe it is possible, but it was a movie that assumes that we already know the mythos of everything. It's clearly an Elseworld. This is what we're doing, and they're not explaining it. They're just doing. If that makes any sense. And I like that it just took its toys. This is what we're doing. We're not explaining, oh, here's this Poison Ivy, here's what's her name? Isley, whatever her name is, Pamela Isley, blah 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 blah. Like it didn't do that. Just here's a character. This is what we're doing with the character to suit what we're doing in this universe. I liked it most for that because I thought it was clever. Like we all know the origin stories of these people. I'm okay with changing the origins, every so many years or so.
It made me want to go and read the comic.
Yeah,
I think I'll probably look that series up because it's this is why I like comics and why I stopped caring about canon.
Right,
because it gets better when you don't.
Right,
and like like if you're just like, oh, this is a story about these characters, and and great, like I don't care how it ties to something else.
Right. Again, Injustice is my favorite, and the whole series starts off by saying elsewhere.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I've talked about it before. Like you can read a Hulk comic where Hulk is fighting Captain America, and Captain America is holding his own, and then you can read a Hulk comic where Hulk is fighting Silver Surfer, and they're like equals and stuff like that. I don't care if you that doesn't work canonically, but I don't care. Right. I can accept this Hulk is able to go is like more like I'm not as fast or as agile as you.
Right.
Whereas this one I'm scaling to cosmic level.
Right.
Because it's is it a good story or not? And that's why I like Elseworlds a lot. Superman Red Sun, all those kind of things.
Right.
Because it's interesting, and I think this definitely was an interesting movie. So just shouldn't take my money from me.
So you know what it is? it's taking the characters but putting the characters in different situations, but they're still the characters, if that makes sense. There's no, hey, what happens if Superman does have that one bad day that pushes him over? It's still Superman. It's just dealing with grief, and in my eyes, that makes him a little bit more relatable in some senses. Just it's
Yeah, I do wonder though with this movie, because it was very fast, and was it, if I had read the comic book first,
mm-hmm,
would I feel more about it like how I felt with Injustice the movie? Because it kind of felt injustice-y,
mm-hmm.
like,
Certain
but
things were definitely trimmed
they were
in
just
order to fit within the
happening, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, we got to move on to this, we got to move on to this,
right,
but it didn't bother me in this one.
right,
I was just along for the ride,
mm-hmm,
and I love the style, I love the Cthulhu style. Like, it's a style that I've read a little bit of Cthulhu stuff,
mm-hmm,
and I enjoyed it. There's a game I really want to play, a tabletop RPG.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've talked about it on the show before, but I think it's called 12 Candles.
Yeah, you've told
But
us about this. Yeah.
yeah, you play in a room, and it's like it's a Cthulhu like universe, and it's all about survival.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a dark room, and then you have 12 candles lit,
Right.
and then there's a dice element with the candles, and you get more dice based on. But as soon as you roll a fail, you blow out a candle.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're playing the game, you're getting closer to death. The room is getting darker and darker and darker with you because you blow out another candle.
Right.
And that's perfect for the Cthulhu level universe because you're doomed. I mean, everybody in this universe is doomed,
right?
Because they're trying to prevent everybody else from being doomed.
Right. Gotta love Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's such a cool concept, and they did it right. They did it justice. People were screwed. They were dying. And then even worse things were happening to them.
Right.
I mean, like Batman, he's the hero that stands up against everything, and they changed him into this like Man Bat storyline.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was great with Man Bat. Yeah. So again, they took most of the rogues and just injected them, but did something different with them. Is what they did, and they just did it without explaining the reason why. The reason why is because we're telling a story. This is what we're doing with these.
Well, they explained why they were like, here's this character, but in this universe. Like instead of like it being, well, he was traditional Batman at first, but and then they put Etrigan, and Etrigan
was great, right?
So there's a lot of good stuff, but there is a lot of characters, like I said. So you can see why people would be
just going knowing who the characters are. I mean,
if you're a Batman fan, you'll definitely enjoy it.
Yeah. So
anyway,
shut up and take my money. 1,000%.
Yeah, just shut up and take my money. So you get next week's pick. So what's your pick?
Oh God, I'm torn between several. One is one that neither of us have seen. There's one that's like a fun nostalgia movie, and one that just sounds fun to rewatch.
Okay.
No, pick one.
Wait, sorry. So
all right. So there's one that we haven't seen. One that I haven't seen in a really long time. I'm sure you haven't seen it.
Let's go with the new movie. I haven't seen it.
So let's do Quiet Place 2, because neither one of us have seen it.
Okay.
Yep, we'll do it.
What's it on?
It looks like you can find it YouTube, Amazon. Yeah.
That's cool. YouTube, Amazon. That works.
Yep. Cool.
So all right. So we'll be watching Quiet Place 2, reviewing that. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again.
I really like the first one. The first one was great.
I thought it was a decent movie. There are like things that you can go like, why would they do that? But I mean, it's a horror movie.
It's fine. In fact, what we can do is if you watch Stranger Things and then watch A Quiet Place, you can almost tie the two franchises together because the creatures look so similar to one another. You can see how that universe could have evolved into A Quiet Place. That's my fan theory.
We always love hearing them. Okay, so let's see what else we got. It is about 12 o'clock, so we got about 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into some of these like rant discussions I have saved up.
Let's hear some rant
Um,
discussions.
all right, so oh, I had I think I don't know if I talked about it briefly, but we can discuss this. So you always hear like everything that we see in cinema. We have the superhero world right now,
Mm,
right?
right.
Like, and they're making all these superhero movies, but they're always based off of DC,
Mm,
Marvel, or some kind of indie comic. So
right.
there's always a source.
Right.
Wouldn't it be interesting if someone did pulled a Quentin Tarantino, but maybe with more of a comic book style, like even more so,
Mm-hmm.
and made a film based, no source, completely original,
Mm.
but based in film superhero pantheon? Because you're no longer basing it on an old medium, you on a, not an old medium, but a medium that comic characters are based in a comic book medium. You could create it based in the film medium.
So
So you're no longer trying to adapt; you're
right.
creating.
So hashtag quantum drift. Yo.
But I mean, I mean like a superhero one, like like Justice League, Avengers, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Just
But
create your own mythos.
instead of these characters being based on these other things,
Base them
just
in
create
movies.
your own.
Right. Yeah, I'd watch the shit out of that. But see,
Well,
nobody
what
wants.
would you? So you would make it more of like a sci-fi one. Like,
So,
what
I,
would yours look like?
I would just pull from quantum. That's the whole point of quantum is to take everyday people and elevate them to level of hey, if you were to have superpowers, what would you do? And then eventually, if it ever takes off, let's make the movie about the individual with the superpowers, the actual tangible Frosty. Let's tell his story on the big screen. I'd watch shit out of that. Just
Yeah.
that is my inevitable like
The
end
only
goal.
thing, 'cause I mean, my instant thought was like I would pull from like my like novel that I wrote.
Right.
Um, but then I was like, well, that goes against the point of the project
Right.
because it was supposed to be you consider the medium of film first.
Oh, I see what
So
you're saying.
yeah, so like like yeah, that's where it becomes a tough like question because as soon as you start thinking other things that are in other mediums.
Right.
And so like if we just say superhero though, which granted is already another medium to begin with,
Right.
but we say like, okay, this isn't based on anything ever created before.
Right.
What how do you do that? I mean, you're gonna be subject to the powers, but what I would try and do is create characters that are against the character archetypes I've seen before,
Right.
and create something completely new. And then also, I think it would be interesting because um, that has yet to be done in the. It's all based on other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're going to base it on superheroes, no one can say like like when people are watching Zack Snyder's Superman,
Mm-hmm.
they're like oh well he's not Superman because he's killing people, and oh why is Batman killing people? Batman's using a gun. What the shit?
Right.
But these aren't Batman or Superman. They're something else entirely. So like you can't do that with these characters. I think that's why Gunn had success with critically. I know it wasn't
Suicide
because
Squad.
yeah, the Suicide Squad
Right.
because like
Lesser
nobody
knowns.
knew who those characters were.
Right.
You know.
You're right.
But yeah, I think it would be awesome. And then if a film studio is brave enough to do this, they could create their own superhero universe that they don't have to worry about. Oh, we gotta pay
Right.
these other people and all that, and it's your own.
I'm surprised Disney hasn't done that yet. Who do you think would pull that off? Universal, freaking Warner Brothers.
I mean, Universal. I would.
I think Universal would be, or my gut would take me on that. Yeah,
Yeah, I would watch it. Like, if I was to do it,
I would pitch that. Maybe we should
I
have
would
that be a
do
pitch
it.
at some
I
point.
I would do it as more more along the lines of Snyder, like adult, like make it, but I would like turn it a few shades lighter,
Okay.
not quite as like dense as his films are,
Okay.
And so closer to the MCU, like have more comedy aspects to it,
Right.
but not as silly as Deadpool. Like that's an R-rated
Right.
comedy. I'm like more, but just more funny. But
You know
like,
what movie jumped into my head, even though it was based on a comic, is Mystery Men. Do you remember that?
yeah,
So something like that, where you had like the bowler and like just all
yeah.
these weird superhero
Oh
types.
yeah, you could go that route. I would try and make it more serious. Like I want to have characters that are interesting. Have
Oh no, no,
you know,
like characters, but I'm talking about like as far as like the variety of powers, I guess, where
yeah,
it's not just it's a strong man, or here's this archetype, here's this archetype. Just go nutty with the powers. Just
you could. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was gonna. Like okay, I created. I was playing a superhero game, and I know this is me saying basing it on something else. Maybe I would use a D&D thing to make the characters,
mm,
but I created this character. So in this game, if you ever played it, oh god, what's it called? I can't remember, but it's a tabletop RPG.
mm,
You roll up your character,
mm.
so you never know what you're gonna get. You
Oh, that's
can it
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one.
no, but that's the. I mean, yeah, that happens in that because you don't know. This is a superhero one,
Mm,
so you roll up your character, and you never know what you're gonna get. You can get anything from like your like James Bond
mm,
to like you're the Hulk. And so the problem with the game is you're like you may be like a weakling and someone else may be super powerful.
mm,
But I rolled up a character called the Elysian,
mm.
and he had the power of pixie dust.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so lame. His other powers were he was ultra charismatic because like godlike charisma.
hmm
Um, and so much so that fanatics would follow me around and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And you even get 3 followers that like, and I just made like I live at their house, I just chill.
Hmm
And then and they support everything I do with their own careers and stuff. And then so I had that. I was like godlike beautiful as well, so that worked out.
hmm
I thought I was gonna get god intelligence, or no, my physique was not god. I was like a perfect human.
Right.
And then I had fairy dust. But the thing is, we're going up against crazy things, and I had to come up with such creative stuff with the fairy dust.
hmm
Like, but it worked, Like a guy's
It's
about to
this
blow up.
palladium, right?
Yeah, palladium.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my fairy dust, what it did is it made things weigh 0 pounds.
hmm
And so, like, a guy's about to blow up, fairy dust him, grab him, send him like flying off into the. So I was using it even though I didn't have super strength.
Right.
And that's to me a very interesting character I created. I've never really seen. So, and I took something that was like kind of initially silly, but made it awesome.
Right.
And so there you go. There's my character. That's one of them.
You know what's
And like,
another weird like set of superheroes? The anime My Hero Academia. Because as you describe that, I think there's a character that does something like gravity bubbles or something.
My
Where
Hero Academia is a perfect example because it's a celebration of superheroes.
yes,
But they've created their own unique heroes.
right,
It's not based on anything.
right,
And that's what I mean. But do that, but then create it in the film medium.
right,
Don't base it on anything. Universal, make your own pantheon.
right.
I think that would be really cool.
That'd be great. I mean, they did it with the
People have
monsters.
struggle understanding this. I suggested like, who thinks this would be cool, and everyone starts suggesting it being based on something. I'm
Right.
like, no, you don't understand. It's unique. It's its own thing.
It's its own thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Treat it like a My Hero Academia in the sense where here's a love letter to the thing done weird. It's not a bad little show. I like what's his name, Bakugo. I guess is
Mm.
the kid who secretes nitroglycerin. He's got like grenade arms. Like that's fucking
Yeah.
cool. That's weird. It's super.
I watched
weird.
it until I ran out of episodes, and then I stopped watching it. Maybe I'll come back to it. I don't know. But anyway, so what would your pantheon look like? I guess we'll ask that question. Anyway, here's another one. If you could have the powers of all X-Men, so all just empowered with all the X-Men,
Okay.
or all Justice Leaguers poured into you, which would you choose?
So, would I get Bruce Wayne money?
That's not a power. You would probably, I would argue, get everything about him, like his detective skills,
Okay.
fighting skills,
Okay. So,
his brilliant mind.
okay. So if I were to, with that said, if I were to get Batman level intelligence or just that type of mind, I would go Justice League because then I can just have all the powers with a Batman brain and just tower babble the X-Men. But now you have all their powers. That's fucking cool.
Okay, here's where my thought process went with this one.
Now, which are we just talking about the core X-Men? Because there's about 50
No, we're
gajillion
talking
X-Men.
about all the X-Men, but we're also talking about anyone that's been a leaguer.
Okay, all right.
So it's giant list of powers.
Okay.
It's so many that you can't even
You
really
can't quantify.
you could if you wanted to sit down, but I just was like looking at like, okay, what are some of their heavy hitters? Because that's really what it comes down to.
Right.
And in X-Men, you have characters like fucking Phoenix, and you're just like, yeah. And then I thought, well, all right, there is no wrong answer here because you're going to be absurdly powerful.
Right.
I mean, beyond God here.
Right.
But it came down to this. I went, someone was going to kill the Flash. Flash was just like, I'll just run faster than death itself.
Right.
And now goodbye, death. And that's how powerful he is. And then you take a character like Superman, who was also just broken.
Right.
And I understand it's Phoenix and some of those heavy hitters. I just think once you got a character that's so powerful that can go, I'm just not going to die. You're fine. So I'm going Justice League as well, but I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
No, because God, there's one X-Men, I forget his name, Goop or something, who has like a pocket dimension in his stomach. He looks like Slimer. Just yeah, you can go stupid with it. I mean, you can have Professor X go just full onslaught if you want. I mean,
all right. So here's another rant. This is a debate between me and our friend Rob, creator of White Owl Comics. So do you remember I argue that it happens in every film. He argues no, it was an affront to the audience.
Okay.
But do you remember in I think it was not Endgame, the one before it. Help me out.
Oh, Infinity War. Yeah, Infinity War.
Yeah. Strange is fighting Cull, whatever his name is. We were just talking about him.
Yep.
And he cuts off his hand.
Mm-hmm.
The portal. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, why didn't he just do that to his hand, to Thanos' hand, and cut off his arm?
Mm-hmm.
So and everyone's like, yeah, that's a big plot hole. Because he could have just done it. So I argued those things happen in every film. I'll put forth my argument. I'll put forth Rob's argument. You can weigh in.
Okay.
So Rob's argument is, they showed us him doing that.
They set it up. You're right.
Yeah, and then they didn't cut off his arm.
Right.
I don't know if they set it up, but I think I'll argue.
It's almost like an unused Chekhov's gun, kind of, sort of.
It isn't, though, I wouldn't say, because this is just one of the things that he used his portal thing to cut off an arm. That was one story.
Right.
Cutting off Thanos, I would say it wasn't a setup. I would say this is just one of those plot hole things that happens every movie. Like the one I always talk about is Jurassic Park.
Right.
You know, like
where did all that ground go?
Yeah, where did that happen? You can do this in any movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League. They cut off what's his name's head, and it goes. And then like, why didn't Darkseid just go Omega Effect and then just murder the entire Justice League instantly through that same portal?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? You could do this. What's his name?
You can infinite regress every scenario. And
Shawshank Redemption. Do you remember the poster?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he go through the hole and then somehow put the poster back up that tight that you throw a rock through it and it goes through it? Well, he was on the other side of the tunnel. It's impossible.
Right.
You just these things happen.
Right.
But the other thing is, there's an explanation.
Is there
Doctor Strange, he looked at every eventuality already of them fighting him.
Right.
And so he would have looked at him trying to cut off the arm. Mm-hmm. And apparently that guy was just a weak minion. You couldn't physically cut off Thanos' arm using a portal that way. He was just that tough.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
And then Rob was like, "Well, they never tell you that," and I go, and then they actually point out they actually did because he actually says in the film, "I've seen every eventuality, and there's only one way we win."
Mm-hmm.
So he already knew that wasn't going to happen, and he tells the audience that.
I'm okay with
Which I
that.
actually kind of think is kind of clever, but I do think you could. That might have been one of like when we did the Jurassic Park thing. We were like, "How can we explain this away?"
Right.
After the effect, I do think there's a good chance that it's just them doing it, but they do come out and tell this. So
Even the universe where Ant-Man went upside the rectal cavity of Thanos and tried to explode him from inside, they factored that in. That didn't work. So Doctor Strange reset.
Where do you weigh in on this debate? I'm curious.
All right, so this sort of reminds me of Lord of the Rings. Why everybody gets mad? Why didn't just fly there? Like Gandalf said, "Fly, you fools." So this sort of reminds me of that. Like the answer's been in front of you the whole time, but it just didn't. Like the synapses didn't connect. I guess. Mm-hmm. I personally, I treated it as two separate things. Like that had its conclusion, and then you had, at the end. Yeah, I just assumed that Thanos was just tough enough to deal with something like that. He just took out Thor. Fucking Thor took a neutron star to the face. There's power.
Yeah, they actually that's the thing. The only thing that could cut him in, they explained, was Thor's axe.
Right.
It required that was the only thing, and Strange knew that was the only thing that could cut him.
Right. So my brain, this is the first time I ever really thought of it. I know that people have brought it up in the past. I just didn't care, but now we're nerds. We discuss it. I see it as that. It's if it were that easy, he would have done it. And okay. I'm guessing he tried it. He failed. Reset time. Hey, let's try it. The timeline where the ant guy goes up the pooper and tries to explode him from inside. Well, shit, that didn't work. Let's keep doing this again. He did millions of different variations of the scenario, and this is the one thing that worked. So, like, I'm okay.
So you're saying the explanation they give actually works, and you're satisfied with it?
I mean, it was. I never thought about it, but now that
I never thought about it either.
So now that I'm being,
I just those are the kind of things that you see in movies as well, and you just kind of go, okay,
yeah,
whatever.
So
it's another one, Cloverfield, massive giant thing, like huge building crushing thing. I love that movie.
Right.
I don't give a shit why it was able to sneak up on them like a giant towering ninja at the end. Right. I just go, okay, whatever, like
right.
It did that trick where I think it's object permanence or whatever.
Yeah.
Where they can show you something and then yet they show you something else and distract you, so you no longer notice it.
Right.
And we as moviegoers just go, "Yep, that's fine."
Right.
And that, to me, was a "Yep, that's fine."
Yeah. So, having not thought about it before, but now being forced to think about it now and actually like dissect it, I could see my brain at the time subconsciously thinking, yeah, it's Thanos. Like, he's tough. He's Thanos. You spent 10 years building this guy up. He's Thanos. If it were as easy to just go with the portal, that'd be stupid. Then y'all would complain.
All right, so here's another one for you. This is a discussion between a couple of our friends. So this is also Rob Whiteout. But also joining us in this discussion was Project Impact.
Okay.
And someone was saying, this is dumb. Why would you want to see this upcoming Superman film? And that's because we've got some more details. So I'll just go over the details. So we know it's going to be written, directed by Gunn. We know it's going to be inspired by Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. We know that he's going for that kind of wholesome. He's just a good guy from Kansas trying to like do the right thing.
Right.
And we know that it's going to be. We know the actor. He's going to be. So it's going to be a 30-year-old Superman, and it's going to be them. And we also know that he said it's going to be a story, an origin story, but not an origin story for Superman. This is a world where superheroes already exist. This is going to be a Clark Kent workplace origin story. So it's going to be about his workplace, working for the Daily Planet, and with him being Superman. But that's going to be about Clark. And so that's the details we know. So I said this all sounds awesome to me,
Right.
and then Rob chimed in and said it sounds small, and I said I
Good.
don't care. I don't think the quality of a movie is based on its scope. You
Right.
could have a small story, and it could be just as good as a big story. And he believes it should be big and then go bigger. And people are saying, well, we want to see Superman punch Darkseid. We don't want to see this Clark Kent origin story. This is a big talk on Twitter right now.
Mm-hmm.
Project Impact came in. He said, no, this sounds refreshing. Like you're restarting the franchise. You want to start small so you can go bigger eventually.
Yes.
Um,
And
where do you land?
so I'm in that camp. James Gunn was tasked to building a universe, and you don't want to do what its predecessor did, which is it went big all at once, and it didn't have time to really flesh out the universe. And then we
The
had
other argument I've heard is we've never seen him in film go up against something like really crazy, and they want to see that.
okay.
My argument to that is we just saw him
just
fight
saw him.
Kryptonians,
Right.
Doomsday,
Right.
and a new god, also Batman, who is giant in his own way.
Right.
And like we've been watching that for a while.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with going with this thing? It reminds me a lot of the Superman show that I just watched. This was like a kind of refresh on the wholesome kind of, and I'm so excited for this film, in just every way. Like everything I've heard so far just sounds awesome.
So you know what's great about rewatching the 1940s Superman is that it focused on Lois, and then Superman comes in, and he's going up against mad scientist guy who's not really a threat, and he uses his powers to rescue Lois and to stop the threat. But then he just goes up to the every man, just the evil scientist guy, just grabs him and just jumps away with him because he didn't really fly back then. He was almost like he was a leaper, I would say, almost like the Hulk or Jessica Jones.
Well, Golden Age Superman was like when you hear the faster
than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive.
That's what he was. He was like a tank, like a really fast tank.
Right.
And then it was Silver Age that made it like you have insane powers.
Right.
And then Silver Age is closer to like the Reeves movie where he can pretty much do what he wants. Like, now I'll fix the Great Wall with my vision. Like, Silver Age, there was one where he like shot out tiny versions of himself from his finger just because he wanted to.
Good for him. I want that power.
Actually, when they were creating that version of the character, the way they describe it is the only thing he couldn't do were things he hasn't tried yet.
Does that include butt stuff?
Anything. You can do anything. I mean, think about it. The only limitation is you haven't tried it yet, and you'll instantly succeed perfectly. I mean, yeah, think about it. That's unlimited power. It's
awesome.
Stupid. I mean, it's cool, like, but that's why the stories is more like kind of silly, like.
Right.
But yeah, that's the Superman. That's why I like Darkseid though. So that Superman's so powerful, like sneeze and like galaxies blow away.
Right.
But then like Darkseid shows up and he can win.
So want to know what I thought about this with Darkseid because I'm writing shit with Quantum right now, and I'm just sort of like thinking of outside influences for bad guy. I'm writing about villains right now. So if you look at Darkseid, he's always standing in what's called a parade rest, which in military terms, it's the relaxed pose that you're allowed. You can kind of move around and whatnot, but the fact that he's so relaxed, he barely flinches from that position. That's how tough he is that he seldom needs to break from that pose.
Yeah, but so this is how tough he is. So you have Silver Age Superman, right? Can do anything. Goes up against Darkseid.
Right.
Darkseid wins.
Right.
And then you find out later that like, when the reset happened and then they scroll back Superman's powers and all that, and we now have the more grounded Superman. Superman goes up against him and somehow fights him and stuff like that. And like what we see in movies and stuff. And you go, wait a second. They explicitly say that the Darkseid who fought Silver Age Superman and won is still around. So how come this new, and it's the same one, it never changed.
Right.
How come new Superman is winning against him? And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And then Grant Morrison came out with his writings that, oh, no, there is only one Darkseid, and he's so beyond everything
Mm-hmm.
that what you're actually seeing is how that villain's interacts with our reality.
Right.
That's how powerful Darkseid is.
He
The way it's
transcends
explained
reality.
is
He's like a
the way
concept.
there's yeah, and it's called abstraction something. There's an actual word for this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's things that are more real than even you and I are, and they're
Right.
like that's what Darkseid is.
Right.
It's the example you give is like, let's say you see the number 2 written on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's Darkseid interacting with our universe.
Mm-hmm.
You can burn the paper away,
Mm-hmm.
but 2
Still exists. The
still
concept of
exists,
2.
and it exists without us even having to exist.
Right.
It's more real than we are because we didn't
We didn't
it's kinda
discover
like
2.
we discovered it, but
We quantified it. But
it was always there, you
right.
know, like
the
it's
concept of
crazy
2 is always going to be there whether we are present or not.
I just think that is like such a cool idea for a villain, like, you know, like, and like the question is, what concept is he? What does he represent?
Right. Well, this is.
They've never fully explained.
I thought it was just evil. What was
Some people say evil, some people say tyranny.
just all
Some
things
people,
bad in one because it's Darkseid.
well, so one person said he is the absence of stuff.
Okay. Like the nothing
Um,
from the never-ending story.
yeah, sort of, like, because you have, like, you know, like, and that's what New Genesis is. They're the something,
Yeah.
and that's why he's such a threat, because nothing always is there, and nothing will ultimately win.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really cool. That's why it was when we say Darkseid, Darkseid is,
Right.
you know, because he just is.
So that's the thing. I would love to see a Superman fleshed out within 10 years. You finally get to really know, and they did the same thing with Tony Stark in the MCU. Just Superman is going to be the titular face character of James Gunn's universe. Good. It's Superman. So I want to see the wholesome Kansas boy all of a sudden going up against Darkseid after following him for 10 years. Like, I want to see that. Flesh that out. That is everything that the MCU did right with their first line of Avengers. They took its time to flesh things out. So yes, start small. Start small and scale it up. Because again, in the original 1940s, here's Mad Scientist Man with some robots, and they disable the robots. Lois helps. It's a cool scene. God, there's one scene with molten lava, and just the animation is gorgeous.
Yeah,
but,
everybody talks about that scene where he like blocks it with his cape.
Yeah, it's silly, but it's forgivable because it's Superman.
Kid, did you ever think that Superman, like, because I thought until I learned better, I thought that Superman's power came from his cape, and like, oh no, I lost my cape, now I have no powers.
Sort of like a Samson type thing. I never really questioned it. And in fact, you know what? I think I don't know how, but I think early on I somehow knew that his power came from the sun. Like I can't tell. Maybe it was from watching the Christopher Reeves if they mentioned it. Then I don't remember, but I just sort of inherently
I just
knew.
remember playing on the playground, and it was accepted that was where a superhero's power comes from, is their capes.
Their capes. No capes.
And, like, it's even in the Rugrats show. I mean, the kids are playing, and then they think he loses his cape, and like, oh no, you lost your powers.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I never.
Anyway,
yeah, I don't really thought that. But anyways,
it's coming up to 12:30.
Yes, so I get to go to an enchanted tea bar today. I'm looking forward to it. It's a grand opening. Meeting up with fellow nerd Adria. She is of our wizarding fans. Yes. I'm excited. She threw a wizarding party last year that unfortunately Mrs. Cap and I couldn't attend because we were in Catalina. But this year we have the dates
movie where they do a Harry Potter themed party, and like it's like the most awkward thing ever. They just have to like show up and like they're like, yes, so we're at a Harry Potter themed party, and they're like, yes, we're very excited, and like everybody's just kind of a bunch of adults sat around quietly dressed as Harry Potter.
So apparently, as I helped.
They were gonna watch the show. They were gonna watch the movies together. That does sound fun.
It sounds fun. You know what? I've never had an issue with Harry Potter. In fact, a part of me really. I've read all the books. I thought that they were a very fun read.
You could though. Here's the thing. It's not so much Harry Potter. You could pretty much tell me hey, unless I hate it, you
Right.
could pretty much tell me, hey, we're gonna do a watching party of said franchise. It could be fucking something like the Fast and Furious,
Right.
and we're all gonna dress up as Fast and Furious characters. Come to my house. There'll be food and drinks and stuff.
Right.
I would totally do that. I don't care. Any franchise. That just sounds like because they're gonna nerd out, and it's fun to be around nerds nerding out
Right.
about stuff
Right.
they
Right.
love. You know.
So what's cool is I'm going to buy my robes. It's on my wish list. I'm a proud Slytherin. I'm going to be the potions master, and being a bartender, I'm starting to think of cool cocktails that we can make that has some type of reaction to it. I have a couple ideas in my head, but I have time to really think about it. I'm looking forward to it.
Before we go, I got to call out my sister-in-law.
Hmm?
So I was sitting there talking with her, and I accept certain shows she's not gonna like. I made my brother watch a bit of Invincible, and he was like, "Oh, this is cool as shit." But my sister-in-law, she's visiting, and we're talking, and she said she's never watched Star Wars, and she said she's tried, but she fell asleep, and
What?
she can't get through it. And like, I kind of knew she didn't like Star Wars because I would send stuff, and she didn't get it, and like my brother would have to explain it. Um, Jen, like, but here's the thing: she gets a pass because she supports our show and she has since the beginning. So you get a pass. But Jen, please watch Star Wars,
I'll watch
please,
it with you.
and then come on our show and tell us what you thought of Star Wars. Describe the movie. Which one do we want to watch? New
Okay,
Hope?
no, all right. So here, I'm going to take this a step further. So my man cave is currently under construction due to some leakage. It's going to be out of commission for several months. However, this is giving me a unique opportunity to really refurbish the cave. Now, what I have is the one true trilogy, which is the original before the special editions, because I know that there's a couple edits between what originally aired in the theaters to what we got on the VHS. I get it; they changed some verbiage, but the core movie, and actually, fellow nerd Dan hasn't seen it. And once the cave is all done, I'm going to sit him down and have him watch the original trilogy and just enjoy it. It is such a fun adventure
Okay,
romp.
but I think it's going to be hard to get her to watch the original trilogy. I think we need to pick one movie for her. Which movie?
Okay, so A New Hope. Come and watch A New Hope with me in my man cave. I'll fire up the popcorn machine. You can help
It's
yourself some
unlikely
treats.
they live in Texas, but
We'll make it happen. But there's a way that you can experience the original cut of Star Wars without all this riffraff on Disney Plus with the garbage. Just pure
all
Star
right. Well,
Wars.
you heard that, Jen. If you find yourself in SoCal, I don't know which way you guys are driving when you go back to Texas. If you're driving through SoCal, you've got an open invitation to go to Cap's house and watch Star Wars with him
Yes,
um,
on VHS.
on VHS.
Yes,
Which is, yeah, I agree with you. That's how you need to watch. You got to get some popcorn and some
right.
candy.
And tragically, I'm without my cave right now, and I
I
feel
have to warn you though, Cap. If they do come over, they have a massive. Well, I guess they would find an RV park, but they would drive over. But your house will be taken over by my brother, my sister-in-law, and then two of my nephews, who are in fact insane. Like, and yeah, and then
no
if you give
touchy.
and if you give my sister-in-law some alcohol, which I'm sure you will. There will be a lot of laughing and craziness being had. You may struggle to get them to focus on the movie, but it is a good time. I'm describing what last night was like. Like
Sounds like something I would just be in the middle of and just have all the fun. Anyways, we should probably
at my
wrap
favorite
it.
restaurant tonight. It's going to be crazy, but
Nice.
anyway, yeah, we should go. Yeah.
Yep. So, for those of you who watch, thanks for watching. For those of you who will eventually tune in, say hi, like, subscribe, do all that crap. Help us out with the algorithms. We do like to end the show.
Also, thank you to those of you who do watch. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes. I had mentioned this a couple days ago to Mr. Frosty, but there has been a new social media site has entered the ring through Facebook. What's it called? Threads?
It's doing well because that day when Twitter went down, everything, and then they were like, "Well, what the fuck do I do?" And then Instagram Threads dropped, and they were just like, "Oh, look how well that's doing."
Right.
Um, I'm looking into it. The other one we were talking about is Blue Sky. I don't think we're moving right now, but we're looking into it. If you guys would like to see us on either platform, let us know.
Right, and it's all going to be contingent as to whether or not I can get OBS to connect to those sites. Because if they're new, there might not be a means to connect.
Well, we're still. I don't think that matters because we still YouTube is our primary home.
Right.
And so we can just send out a message. I did send out because with Blue Sky you need an invite to get into it. And so I sent it out a request to get an invite. So if we get invited, I'll play with it. Threads, we already do have a small Instagram following. We don't really use it though, but it will populate automatically over from our Instagram followers.
Okay.
And a few of them it was mostly me posting some of the Pitch Nerds art, and they appreciated it. But it would work better because then if say one of those people go over to Threads, they'll instantly be able to find us. So we're looking into both. But if you want us on either, let us know.
I forgot a long time ago. I animated because I was trying to learn an animation software. I made a little Pitch Nerds little bloop thing. I forgot all about that. Anyways, we like to end the show with a nerdy quote by Mr. Frosty. And Mr. Frosty, sail us away.